called off Pope. They're not going to foul. The Eagles let it play out. It's over. At last, the long wait is over. After 47 years, the Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Basketball in the Mountains. This is episode 55. I am your host, as always, Tyler King, here to talk all things hoops, NBA, and college in the Mountain Time Zone. But we're talking just NBA today. As promised last week, we did two different college episodes. We did an episode early in the week, on the number one team in the country, still, the Arizona Wildcats, and still undefeated. I think they have one non-conference game left before Big 12 play begins, which will likely next week after the holiday do a big Big 12 preview with all the teams you got in the Mountain Time Zone, so stay tuned for that. We also last week did an episode on the Mountain West because their conference schedule is underway. We did that ahead of the big Utah State-Colorado State game in Logan between the two teams I thought were the best teams in the Mountain West, but Colorado State gets hammered by Utah State in Logan, which things rarely go well for visitors to the Spectrum, but that game was a blowout from the start. Impressive win for Utah State. But like I said, we're back talking NBA today, a couple days ahead of Christmas. So happy holidays out there to everybody listening, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hopefully you have a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season here in the Mountain Time Zone. But today we're talking about the Denver Nuggets in between a back-to-back and ahead of the Christmas night game here in Denver against the Timberwolves, recording this on Tuesday the 23rd, ahead of the weird back-to-back that the Nuggets have before the Christmas night game. Like I said, they played on Monday night against the Jazz, and tonight they play against the Mavericks in Dallas, which I'm sure most people will be listening to this after that game is played, so we won't talk too much about tonight's game, and we'll be mostly talking about what happened last week for the Nuggets in a 4-game homestand, which ended last night against Utah. They played Orlando in between 2 games against the Rockets, and that's really kind of what we're going to talk about today, with the Nuggets and Rockets seemingly being the top 2 teams in the Western Conference and maybe the NBA overall, behind Oklahoma City. So that race for the 2 seed, which we've been talking about on the podcast, got a nice glimpse of what these 2 teams are going to look like, even though the Nuggets still aren't really healthy. But to help us break down this nice 4-game road trip or homestand, for the Nuggets, in which they went 3-1, is my friend Troy Finnegan from Clutch Points. Troy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Tyler. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, as always, we're happy to have you on, and especially after a game last night that probably could have been an email if we're going to describe that Nuggets Jazz game, because we talk about the Jazz obviously on this podcast too. I'm really excited anytime that one of either Phoenix or Utah is in town to face the Nuggets, and I can see both teams in person. And I'm really excited. I'm on press row. I've got my notebook out, ready to watch this game, and it's an immediate 19-0 run for Denver. And they look like a team that did not want to play in the fourth quarter, for the starters at least, and that's exactly what we got. Nikola Jokic shot the entire fourth quarter. I think Jamal Murray did as well. Nuggets got a little bit healthier last night. Peyton Watson coming back from what was I think was called a right trunk contusion, which I guess is just a chest bruise or whatever, fancy term for that. But nice win overall for the Nuggets. Troy, do you have any takes from a blowout win for Denver over a Utah team that is finally embracing the tank, it seems like?
Yeah, it was nice to see Denver. Obviously not every game's gonna be 19-0 right off the bat, but it was nice to see them kind of come out and handle business against a team that they should be handling business against. Whereas earlier in the season they had picked up some losses. That
the Kings game at home,
yeah.
Wolves at home.
Hey, if Russell Westbrook's going to do it to everybody and not just us, that's fine. I'll give it to him. Yeah, the Portland game, the Bulls game, the Kings game. So it was good to see that last night. I thought Utah was just not really ready to go right from the tip, especially
they weren't really interested in playing that game last night because they have a back-to-back too. I think they play at home tonight. So
offensively, they were kind of a mess early, and then when you get that combined with the Nuggets not missing pretty much any shots in the first quarter, that's what you get. But it was good, especially you mentioned the tough schedule stretch here with the back-to-back tonight and then Christmas back here.
And then an East Coast trip right after that too, which David Adelman made sure to mention last night about, hey, we're happy to play on Christmas Day, but the fact that 2 days later we have to play, I forget where, I think is it in Orlando? It's like we got to get a flight right away to Orlando or something after that for a long road trip. So
it was good to take care of business last night. Keep it light on the legs, see if they can pick one up in Dallas tonight, and we'll see how Christmas goes against my favorite opponent ever. I just love playing the Timberwolves.
Hey, the Timberwolves love playing the Nuggets too, particularly Anthony Edwards. Since his rookie year, I really don't know what it is. He has always enjoyed playing in front of the Denver crowd. He always is going at people. Obviously,
Yes.
the multiple playoff series helps, but even the regular season games between these two teams have been electric as well. Like I mentioned, Peyton Watson came back. He missed a couple games of the injury. He's been awesome.
Yeah.
We talked about him a couple weeks ago on the podcast. Him and Spencer Jones. Specifically because those are the guys that have been filling in starting lineup with Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown out. What have you liked from Peyton? Offense has been much improved this season. His defense has kind of been it's kind of about the same, but Peyton might be playing himself into a contract the Nuggets can't afford with how well played in Aaron Gordon's absence the last month or so.
Yeah, my friends and I joke that he's playing a little bit too well. We kind of need it right now, but when the guys get back, he could chill out a little bit so that he doesn't play himself out of our price range here. But you're right. I mean, I was looking at the cap sheet today. They're just below the second apron next year. I don't know how they're going to afford him playing like this.
Well, the only way is if Jonas Valanciunas does not come back. That's the
Yeah.
way. Is if that $10 million or whatever that Val makes, and you move some other set. Maybe you can finally dump the Zeke Naji contract, and that
the
like
Zeke thing will go away one day, hopefully.
That $18 million that would be cleared up by getting those two guys off the books for next year. Like I said, maybe, like Val obviously had the thing this summer where he flirted with going back to Europe and playing. So maybe he does the 1 year with the Nuggets and then goes back to Europe. And then, like I said, they move off Zeke. That's about 18 or 19 million, which would probably go to Peyton in that regard. But that's the only way.
Yeah, but even like if he keeps shooting 40, he's shooting 41% from three now. I think he's still an impact player on defense.
He's shooting a career high from two as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, this is. I was fiddling with the lineup stuff the other day. This is the best lineups with 100 minutes. The Nuggets starting lineup right now with Jokic, Murray, Cam.
I have this same tab pulled up, by the way, just so we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I have this. Yeah,
it's the best net rating in the league by a lot, and a lot of that is because Peyton Watson is no longer a black hole on offense.
It's not just the net rating, the offensive rating for this five-man lineup, what you said, Jokic, Murray, Cam Johnson, Peyton Watson, Spencer Jones. So the starting lineup for the past month is 138 offensive rating. That is absurd. It is nearly a 70% true shooting. Like, that is ridiculous. And especially considering this was supposed to be like a defensive first lineup with Peyton and Spencer coming in to supplement the three starters are still healthy.
Peyton being a guy that you have to guard is the biggest reason that the number is so surprising. Because obviously we know Jokic and Murray lift the floor of the offense, and Cam is finally shooting the ball well now the last month. But them having, people aren't going to guard Spencer Jones, understandably, and he's shooting the ball okay.
I can't get over the form. I can't.
Despite what it looks, does he have? I was thinking about this. Does he have the ugliest shot now in the league out of anyone?
Don Barlow's got a pretty bad one. As someone who watches a lot of Sixers game, Don Barlow's, he's a great player, but same with Spencer Jones, good player, but that shot is.
It's bad. He might have. What is he shooting from three right now? 36% on 2 attempts. So that's fine. But he might have the ugliest jumper in the league out of somebody who actually will make some shots. His 2 threes, we'll get to the Rockets games, but him hitting the 2 threes against the Rockets was just awesome. But yeah, back to Peyton. I mean, he's great in transition. He's even he's not just like a corner sitter. He's a decent cutter. He moves around well. He creates chances for himself.
You can tell he's watched a lot of Aaron Gordon film.
Yes.
And is figuring out how to play alongside Yoke, which is and the biggest thing we've said the last couple of years is if you can just watch the Aaron Gordon film and learn how to be effective at the dunker spot, because you can't stand in the corner on every possession because that's just not feasible for you offensively, and especially given his skill set too. It's not a wise use of his skills. So I think he's finally starting to learn that as well, and he's been a transition monster because last night, like we were talking about, the Jazz were not making any shots, and the Nuggets were like, we're gonna take the ball and run every time he gets a shot. And Peyton Watson, I think he made a couple threes, but also he was flying down the court for dunks as well early in that game. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was great. He's been great all year, and like you said, we'll see what happens this offseason. I agreed with not paying him before the season. I was on board with that, but this has been about especially considering the injuries and his role really increasing. They need him to be this good right now, and he has been, and that's been massive.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you about from last night's game, because even though I said it could have been an email, Cam Johnson, you mentioned him a little bit too, shooting the ball a lot better this month in December, but he goes 6 of 6 on threes. It's the third time this season he's got 20 plus points in a game. Still not shooting great on twos, but his 3-point shot has really come along in the last couple weeks. Are you still encouraged by Cam Johnson and his potential to impact this team in the postseason?
Yeah, totally. I never really sounded the alarm on him when the shot was down. It's hard for him. I don't think that enough was being said about the amount that his role was being scaled down, especially when
Yes.
Gordon was still on the court.
Yeah.
It's way harder to go from the tanking team where you have the ball a ton to now trying to play winning basketball as the fourth or fifth option on the court.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
way
he was
easier.
at a career low field goal percent,
Yeah.
field goals per game like a month ago, back when everybody was still healthy.
It's way easier to make the transition the other way, as Michael Porter Jr. is proving to everybody right now.
Yeah, and that hasn't helped too. The conversation is Mike playing really well in Brooklyn,
which is,
I mean, people
apples to
forget that part of the
oranges,
conversation, or the reason that trade was so valuable for the Nuggets is because of the difference in salaries for Cam between Cam and Mike, because you don't have Jonas Valanciunas and some of these other guys if you don't trade Mike for Cam.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam is really starting to play pretty well. I have his last 20 games, he's better than 46% on threes, which is
it feels that way too. He hit a big shot he hit a big shot near the end of the Magic game when the Magic were making a late weird comeback, and I think he hit a shot to make it like a 9-point game with like a minute to go. So he's really bounced back fine.
I think he's kind of I expect him to kind of start to grow a little bit within the offense now that I think he's been able to kind of settle down a little bit, and the shot was in his head pretty clearly for a little while. So now I think that he's got that back. We'll see what happens on defense. I think his defensive responsibility should shrink a little bit when Gordon and Brown get back. That should help him. But
I think everybody's defensive responsibilities are going to shrink quite a bit.
Totally, yeah.
Back.
So I think it'll be easier for Cam to start to. His role can grow a little bit in the offense. He can start doing a little bit.
He's been the guy that's been working with the second unit too. Like, had a good chemistry with Val off the bench and the bench unit. He's kind of been the guy running that at times, which lets him tap into what you mentioned, what he was doing a lot last year with Brooklyn. So I think they're still trying to figure some stuff out, but I think they're doing a good job of keeping him involved, whether with the starters and then with the bench unit as well.
I do think mentally was the big thing. Now that the shot is back, I think that mentally he can kind of start to settle in and kind of find his niche on the roster now with the starters, with the bench, like you said. And you're right. Last night, 6 for 6 was great. Very encouraging.
Before we talk about these Nuggets-Rockets games from last week, because I haven't had you on the podcast since I think September, do you have any random Jazz thoughts on just kind of seeing them in person? Obviously, last night was one of their worst games of the season, but they've been mostly encouraging overall, with Keontae George having a really, really impressive leap in his third year. Lauri Markkanen looks like an all-star again. Some other guys have played pretty well. Kevin Love, he didn't play last night, but he's been weirdly really impactful for them in the minutes he's played. They play a fun brand of basketball, which Will Hardy said before the game. He feels like they're usually a pretty fun team to watch, because what that means is we score the ball and we don't play that good of a defense. That's kind of what Will Hardy meant by that. But have you from the games you've watched of Utah this season, kind of what have you liked from that group?
Yeah, the personnel matches that assessment of Will Hardy's. They're like my favorite bad league pass team, and they're on late, which is nice. You mentioned Keontae George, who has just been awesome. I know you liked him before the draft. So
I did. And I kind of last year I'd said this multiple times on the podcast. I really kind of was like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Sometimes, man. I was before the draft. This is off topic, but before the draft, I went to the March Madness. Keontae George played here.
I covered those. Yeah. His college career ended in Denver, so it's always a nice litmus test every time he comes back to Denver to see kind of how he's grown. But yeah, go ahead.
I was telling my buddies that day we were there, and I was like, I love this guy. This guy's awesome. He was so bad.
It was
he
really
played.
bad, yeah.
It was so bad, and they were like, "Really, this guy?" I was like, "I promise, this is not the guy I watched all year." So I'm glad.
Maybe the new meta is Baylor guards because Scott Drew seemingly puts them in a prison with Keontae and VJ Edgecombe, and if Tunde Yesufu turns into a legit NBA player in his first couple of years. Maybe these Baylor guards is the new meta for the NBA draft, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned him. He's his last 20 games, he's up above 24 points per game, 6.5 assists, and he's shooting basically 46, 39, 91 splits.
Yeah,
Just
he's
the
been really
scoring
efficient this
efficiency.
year too,
Yeah. He's really scoring the ball well. He's developed, I think, as a lead guard, which is a little, that was going to take some time.
He's getting to the line a ton too, like
yeah,
up there, and he's like top 15 in the league in free throw attempts, which is crazy.
He is. So I do think he's really comfortable now. He's growing as a lead guard, kind of finding the balance between being a scorer. He's always going to be a score first guy without just being like kind of a chucker out there, which has been really nice. So he was my big Jazz note. I do like some of the other young guys. Ace has been fine.
It's if he was in last year's draft class, we'd be talking about Ace Bailey so much more. But because he's in a class where the four guys picked
awesome.
The four guys picked ahead of him look like they're going to be multi-time all-stars.
So good, man. I'm excited to watch Cooper against the Nuggets tonight, but because
I was disappointed. I wanted to go in person when Dallas was here earlier this month, but I just couldn't make it over there. So I'm not sure if Dallas plays here another time this year, but if they do, I'm going to make sure to go to that game. But yeah, whenever I'm most likely going. I think Charlotte comes next month, and I'll go anyway to probably catch up with KJ Simpson. But I'm excited to see Khan, who we were both high on before the draft as well,
great.
And then VJ as well. Whenever Philly comes, will be really awesome because we watched him in person against the Buffs last year, and he had. CU won that game, but he had that sick putback dunk.
Dude, he had 3 plays where we looked at each other and we were like, "Oh my god!"
But then those are the only 3 plays it felt like he had the ball because there was a lot of Jeremy Roach going on for that Baylor team last year. But that's regardless.
I think other than the 3 VJ Edgecombe plays, we probably spent the rest of the game talking about how poorly constructed that Baylor roster.
Jeremy Roach and Rob Wright, who is now awesome on BYU, but just very weird team.
Yeah, they're 6'7" center.
Yeah, just a very, very weird team. And VJ he's every quote he has is like, well, I wasn't allowed to do this last year. It's like, well, the college game is so much more spread out, or the NBA game is so much more spread out. It's like, we can tell you did not like your time at Baylor. That's fine.
That's what happens when you have a 6'7" non-shooting big who just stands in the paint the whole game last year.
And that's why I did not really enjoy watching Baylor really ever. So,
no.
All right, let's move on to talk about these Rockets games from last week. Obviously, Nuggets split both of them here in Denver. It was a weird Monday, Saturday, 2 games against the same team, but there was one game they played the Magic in between on Thursday. The first game was really, really awesome, going to overtime. Jokic Sengun battle. Reed Shepherd played well in both games for Houston, but you mentioned
he's good, man.
Yeah.
I like him. He's a good player.
We'll talk about him as well. But like you mentioned, Spencer Jones hit a couple threes near the end of that game as well. I think Jokic fouled out too, and it still didn't matter in overtime as well on a weird call. But how much did you enjoy kind of watching these games against Houston? Just because, even though Nuggets aren't at full strength, these are the 2 teams that are likely going to be battling it out. Maybe the Lakers can stick in, and I'm a little dubious of that in their defense going forward when the schedule gets tougher. But Denver, Houston, LA are going to be the teams that are really trying to avoid the 4 seed more than anything, so you can avoid OKC in the second round because it's not going to be an easy path regardless in the Western Conference. But avoiding OKC as long as possible is going to be the goal. Just kind of what did you see from these 2 games against Houston, who is, like I said, seemingly the Nuggets' biggest competition for the 2 seed at this point?
Yeah, the first game was awesome. The second game kind of felt like a Nuggets loss pretty quickly.
We had the ref stuff too with Adelman getting kicked out, and it seemed like the Nuggets wanted him to get kicked out as well.
Part of this is how Houston plays, because I feel like this in a lot of Houston games, but those 2 Nuggets-Rockets games were 2 of the weirdest officiated. The first game, the one that the Nuggets won, guys are getting absolutely mauled
on both ends,
on both ends, and nothing gets called. And then somebody would call the softest fouls on
Sengun and Jokic combined for 17 free throws in the first game.
And even late in the game, Jokic got a defensive rebound, and I forget who got called for the foul, but somebody barely hit him on the arm, and they called. I was like, that's what we're calling. And then obviously the last foul on that gave Jamal the 2 free throws on. I think it was Thompson. Was a soft
at the
call
end of regulation.
It's
just kind of feet getting tangled too. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I was just kind of they're calling the stuff that they should not be calling and not calling the stuff that actually looks like a foul. But part of that is the Rockets they kind of they kind of beat you up that way, and it makes it tough to officiate. But
it's very much the OKC school of like, well, they can't call everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of the officiating overall has been, as the coaches will tell you, but that's a whole different thing. I did
put the coaches in a lie detector test, and you'll get some very interesting answers about the officiating this season.
Yeah, the Jokic Sengun battle in the first game was great. I really think it's big for the Rockets that Alpi has really kind of taken this step for them. It gives them a different feel than I kind of had about them coming into the season, where it was kind of like, okay, well, if Katie's
I was down on them after the Van
everything
Vliet injury. I did not expect them to be. I think I had them in the play after or maybe I had them as a 6 seed, but I had them in the middle somewhere. Yeah, I didn't expect them to be a top half of the West team without Van Vliet, but they really haven't missed a beat with, like you said, Reed playing well and
Reed's been great. Yeah, Thompson has been obviously really good. He's doing all the stuff that he did last year. He's getting better. That dude is just an absolute menace. He's Jamal Murray would love to not have to see him 7 games in a row, I think. But look, I think Denver's played well. I think it's been impressive to me that they've still been able to find, and part of this is what we talked about with, the guys like Watson obviously didn't play in these games, but it's Spencer Jones playing better on offense. But the fact that they've still been able to find answers offensively against such a good and physical defensive team, I think has been really encouraging. And it hasn't just been like Jokic obviously has played great, but it hasn't just been like the same Jokic 2-man game, Jokic Murray 2-man game, Jokic post up, like the same stuff. They've been finding some different things, and that has been really encouraging. I would like to see it when the guys get healthy. Obviously, they're not. They play what? Do they play again? They play one more time? I think.
I think so. Yeah. At least one more time. Or they played once in Houston early in the year. They might play again. I forget. I'm not sure if they play again.
I think they played 3 times. So
it would be in Houston if they do play each other again. Which they do on March. It's in March. It's mid-March. So
it feels like the Rockets to me, because it's hard to judge the matchup without 2 starters. The Rockets, to me, it just feels like a series. Like, I feel like I know what a series would come down to, and it's just going to be like, can you get defensive rebounds?
The Rockets' offense and like crunch time.
The Rockets' offense, half-court offense, and then how many defensive rebounds can you get on the first shot?
Yeah.
I think the Nuggets' floor on offense right now is good enough against the Rockets. We'll see about Oklahoma City when they play.
Well, the Nuggets, I mean, just the last month or so in general with AG and CB out has just been like, try to keep up, man. Because I don't know if you've looked at if you look at the last 15 games, which is basically the games that all the games that Aaron Gordon has been out. The last 15 games for the Nuggets, they are 11-4, and they are 4th overall in the league. I think, or no, this is the last 15 games. Yeah, they're 4th overall in the league, and they have the number 1 offense in the league and the number 26 defense. So that'll tell you, like, and they have a 125 offensive rating in the last 15 games and a 118 defensive rating. So it's a lot of keep up if you can, and most teams can't. So that'll be interesting to see, a full strength the Nuggets adjust to that at all and play. A lot of it's the pace they're playing at too. With these guys,
a lot of possessions in
a lot more athletic, or not more athletic, because obviously Aaron and Christian are really athletic, but just different style of players. We're really trying to just get out and run.
It's a less methodical operation.
Yes.
With it's just kind of, it's a lot of just at you kind of downhill, like get out and transition. And that helps Watson and that helps Spencer Jones. But I'm just this is the best offense in the league, even without these guys. And that is really encouraging to me. That's what I wanted to see with Cam. Obviously Jamal is playing like an all-star early in the season.
It's the best he's ever looked in the first half of the season of his career. It's
looks
unbelievable.
Awesome. So we'll see. I mean, 26 in defense is not great, but that's to be expected with some of the personnel issues. And then now, like, the bench is like, Hardaway is obviously going to be kind of up and down on defense. Valanciunas is kind of up and down on defense. So
Jalen Pickett's been solid off the bench. He had 2 blocks last night.
Hey man, I'm pro Jalen Pickett. I like Jalen.
The thing I'll say about Jalen Pickett is all of my Penn State biases aside, he's a real NBA player. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be a guy that is like super impactful in a playoff series, but he could be a 10-year vet, just being a guy that either it's on a bad team playing a bigger role, or on a team like the Nuggets, just kind of playing spot minutes whenever a team needs it. Like, he's a valuable player in the NBA.
From a fan perspective, all I want from a guy in Jalen Pickett's role is for me to not roll my eyes and say, "Oh God," when you come in the game. And Jalen Pickett is above that bar. He is, and he's been good lately. You're right.
The other thing I want to ask you about with Houston is obviously Durant and Reed really went off in the second game. Like, how much have those guys changed the calculus for you in terms of what Houston could be as a potential playoff matchup? Because I think I still feel like the Nuggets would win, not comfortably, but I still feel like the Nuggets would just have too much late game offensive execution for Houston, and that game that series might be over a little bit quicker than expected. Now I might be wrong on that with Durant and Reed, but have those guys changed the calculus at all with what Houston can be in terms of their ceiling offensively, just with the way Reed has shot it this year and how Durant has quickly gone back to being an all-star caliber player?
Yeah, I agree with you about the Nuggets matchup. I would be okay playing them in a series. I would feel pretty good about that. But in terms of just them, yeah, absolutely. I think that Durant has obviously been awesome. He went off in that second game without Gordon to guard him.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is
these guys are out here, man.
Yeah.
Spencer Jones
Aaron Gordon's going to be guarding Kevin Durant, and Christian Brown's going to be guarding Reed Shepard, like when he's in the game. Yeah. So that's
Spencer
part of the
Jones. Is trying his best, man. But he's they measure height at the combine for a reason. Yeah, I think that Durant being awesome. I'm curious because he hasn't played a full season. I don't know since when, but it's been a while since he's played a full season.
Maybe one of those Brooklyn years.
Yeah. So if he goes out, I would be curious to see what happens to them, because that'll be, I would assume that's going to be a thing that pops up at some point. It has pretty much every year. Shepard has been awesome. He's an amazing shooter. He's a really good offensive player. We knew that. Did you like him in the draft?
He was my number one guy on the board. Yeah.
Was he? I liked him a lot too. I was. Just
I had my top three was
good, man.
My top three was Shepard, Klingon, and Castle were my top three in that class. I had Jared McCain like right behind that group.
I liked Reed a lot too. He's a great offensive player, just like he was at Kentucky. They're gonna run into they're gonna run into a dilemma in the playoffs of whether, like, Ime's gonna have to pick a side, whether it's Shepard.
I think I know what side he's going to pick.
The offense. Yeah, I think I do too. Or whether, because he's just, he's like the number one. He's probably in the entire league right now. He's the number one. This guy's going to get picked on in a playoff series.
Yeah.
But I do think that they need him on offense for however many minutes he gets in those games to play like this. And that does, I think, it does change the calculus where it's not going to look like the Warriors series last year that they played, where they were just like completely in the mud. And then the difference was basically that Steph Curry is going to make some shots in the half court. The Rockets.
Yeah. The Rockets' only hope really in that series is like, we need to build a big enough lead where we don't have like the fourth quarter doesn't kind of become what it becomes in a close game. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I do think that has been big for them. And then I mentioned Şengün, who I've just been so impressed with him.
He loves playing against Jokic too. Both those guys are like, bring him right here. Whenever they're on the court together, it's like both of them are.
I've been so impressed with him. The way that the different ways that he can score the ball now, I think is really big for them, and that helps them in some of these mucky, like in that first game when him and Jokic were going back and forth. Those were like muddy half court possessions, and he is able to bail them out with some buckets. So I do think this is a different team than last year, obviously with KD, but some of the internal growth has been big for them as well. But I do agree with you that I think the Nuggets offensively in a playoff series are at a level that would just be a little bit much.
Yeah, and I think the Nuggets defense will kind of regress back to the mean a little bit once the guys come back.
I think they're about average season long right now.
Yeah, I think they're like 14th or 15th in the league, or maybe they're just slightly below average.
Yeah,
but, part of that is because it's been a month now that they've had their two top defenders.
And some of this sounds like excuse making, but they are a team, and not every team has this. The Rockets don't have this. They are a team that has some nights where they just don't play any defense.
Yeah.
And it's annoying, but I do think that in a playoff series where that wouldn't happen, that the defense will be better than some of these numbers say by a little bit.
Yeah, I fully agree with that as well. Like I said, it's when you just look at the stats of the last 15 games, like number 1 in offense, number 26 in defense, like that's a clear directive to play a certain way with
Oh, totally.
given your personnel. Like that's
Yeah,
even
agreed.
though you're putting in like high energy effort guys that are in theory like defense first guys and Peyton Watson and Spencer Jones into the starting lineup in their absence, like the Nuggets are still clearly playing in a way with the amount of minutes that Tim Hardaway gets. Bruce Brown has become more of an offensive first player at this stage of his career anyway. So it's like
Mhm.
they're clearly playing this way with these guys out, and then they'll probably go back to their usual style of ball once they get back to full strength, which we'll see when that is. Which leads me into the last thing I wanted to ask about today is just kind of going into Christmas, kind of where you're feeling about this Nuggets team and the West in general, because it feels like there's a pretty clear top 6 in the West right now. There's
Agreed.
a 3-game gap between Houston and Phoenix, 6 and 7, but there's a 3-game gap between 2 and 6 with the Nuggets and Spurs both at 21 and 7 and Houston at 17 and 9. And even then, like Phoenix and Golden State is probably like their own category. And then you've got like the bottom 7 teams where I don't know what to make of Memphis, Portland, Dallas. Utah is going to start sliding a little bit. New Orleans might start winning some games. I don't know. The Clippers and the Kings are the disasters at the bottom. But it feels like the top 6 at least is settled in terms of the avoiding the play-in group. What has stood out to you about these top 6 teams, if anything? I'm sure probably San Antonio is the one that sticks out with how well they've been playing.
So I feel like the Spurs are almost not getting enough credit here. I don't know if you.
I agree with you. Yeah,
not from you, but like just in general, I feel like people are kind of treating the Spurs like, they're good, they're a playoff team, and then in 2 years we'll see what it looks like. I'm like, they're
good now.
These guys are here right now.
Yeah.
Like they're really good. Dylan Harper's really good. Castle is great.
Castle's been awesome
still a good
year.
player. Yeah, Castle's been. I mean, that dude is so good. Those cup games he was playing.
I was kind of like.
I can't believe
the year last year. I was like, I wasn't sure about it. Like, I was like, it's kind of like, Jared McCain was going to run away with it before he got hurt, and it wasn't like a strong rookie. There wasn't like an overwhelming favorite to come out of the rookie class, but Castle has kind of backed it up with how well he's played this year. He's been awesome.
We talked about it during those games. I can't believe how good of an offensive player he is based on how he was in college. He is really, really good.
The Slash Bros. I love that's a great nickname too for Dylan Harper. It's awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
So they're the team that I've been probably the most impressed with relative to expectations. The Wolves feel like they always do this. They kind of.
I wanted to ask about Minnesota because the Nuggets have obviously played them on Christmas Day. It's the second time they play. They played them in Minnesota early in the year, but getting to see them here in Denver will be interesting. They've kind of flown under the radar a little bit, just like they are kind of who they are. Like, what have you made of them so far this year? I know there's obviously the point guard stuff with Dillingham not really being an impact guy. A lot of Bones Highland for them right now, but I mean, it still feels like their 5 best guys. And by that, I mean Ant, DiVincenzo, McDaniels, Randall, and Gobert. When those guys are out there together, they're still a really effective team. And they still got Naz Reid coming off the bench as well. And it still feels like they're a team that you can't really ignore, I think, out of that top 6, in that top 6 as well. Like, I think that they'll be heard from come the playoffs as well. Like, I don't think it's just OKC, Denver, Houston, and even the Lakers. Like, I think they belong, all 6 of those teams belong in the conversation of teams that can make a real run in the West.
Yeah, Minnesota feels like they kind of do this a lot where they have these small personnel things. This year it's the point guard. Last year was obviously the Towns thing that it takes them longer than some other teams to kind of get their feet under them in these seasons. But like, I mean, you saw Minnesota against Oklahoma City, what they can look like when they really get up for a game. Like, I still think that team is in there. Anthony Edwards is still that guy.
He's still got a top 5 player in the league ceiling at his best.
Totally.
That's a big deal in playoff series.
So I'm not putting them off by any stretch. They still, I would just not want the Nuggets to have to play them in a series. I can't stand it.
Yeah, that's kind of why avoiding getting the 2 seed, I think, is going to be so important, because you're avoiding one of these top 6 teams in the first round, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like, nobody's catching OKC. I think that's obvious, but it's like
I wouldn't mind.
It's not being the 4 or 5 is probably more important than being the 2 over the 3. But like, if you're the 3 seed, then you still have to play either Minnesota, Houston, or the Lakers in the first round, and that's not really ideal as well. Like, you'd want to play either like Phoenix or Golden State or somebody else in the first round before you have to play one of these other top 6 teams in round 2.
The Lakers are interesting to me. Another great league pass team because
Really, really fun. Luka's awesome.
Yeah, he's so good.
And Austin Reeves has
But
been great too, as well, this year.
yeah, really good.
Surefire All-Star. I talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
in making Jamal
easily.
Murray's All-Star case. Like, I think Austin Reeves is a surefire All-Star right now.
Yeah, totally. And LeBron hasn't really hijacked the operation in a way that
He's
I
kind of
think
just
some
fit
people
in the way he needs
feared
to.
that he might. Yeah. If LeBron can be like super Draymond, he's not going to be that on defense, obviously, but like
Yeah.
on offense, if he can be super Draymond, I think
He'll
that
turn
would
that up
work
for like
them.
5 defensive possessions a game, but that's about it. Yeah.
But I don't know how. Like, I would be fine with the Nuggets playing them in a series. I'm not sure. Like, I don't think you mentioned that they might tail off in the regular season. They might as the schedule gets going. I feel like they're a team that can win a lot of regular season games just because Luka's going to win you some games. Reeves is going to win.
Their
you some
offense
games.
is ridiculous.
It's insane. I'm just not sure in a half court game how they're going to get enough stops to beat any of these other top 6 teams unless Luka is really going to score 40 something points every game, which he might. It's on the table.
Yeah, they're just not. I don't think they're deep enough either. Like, we're probably gonna do the same thing with JJ.
There's
Redick, he doesn't make any subs in the second half of the game. He's probably gonna do something very similar. But yeah, I would agree with you that
Jake LaRavia run was fun.
I still like Jake LaRavia.
He's fine.
He's fine.
There's a whole lot of Jake LaRavia going on in some of these games, though.
Yeah, that's not going to happen in the postseason. That's for sure. But I would agree with you. I think the Lakers are probably the least scary team from a Nuggets perspective in the postseason. So maybe if they slip to the 6, you're okay being the 3. But I just think it's going to be a war regardless. And I think it's just going to be trying to avoid that. Trying to avoid the 4 seed is going to be the 4-5 is going to be the biggest key, which I've talked about multiple times now on this podcast. Is like, man, you just want to see OKC as late as possible. Maybe there's some fluke injury stuff or they're just banged up or whatever. But I mean, before the season, I had Denver playing San Antonio in the first round. Like, I thought San Antonio would be a play-in team and then win the play-in game. I had that kind of being an epic 2-7 matchup with Wemby Jokic. And I was like, Jokic will be like, it's not your time yet, but I don't know. That could be an awesome second round.
That guy is Wemby is, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully he stays healthy the rest of the year.
That's all you can hope for.
That guy is unbelievable. He is an amazing player. And that, like we said, they have a really good team. I think they're well coached. I think Mitch has done a good job there.
Mitch has done an awesome job. You got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. Yeah, they've really done a great job.
Considering the circumstances of how he kind of became the guy with the abrupt, they've done as well as you can ask for. So he's
looked like a guy that deserves that job.
We should expect nothing less from the Spurs organization at this point, but they have hit a home run with pretty much everything in the last couple of years.
And I'm interested to see if they treat this year as as not a wash, but like this year is kind of gravy, and they could kind of see what they have, because they have the ammo
schedule for sure.
Yeah, because they have the ammo to go out and upgrade this roster if they wanted to. I'm not going to mention the Giannis thing because I think I don't either. I don't think they should. I don't think they should trade for Giannis. To be honest, I would hold on to Castle and Harper, and then see what other moves you can make. Whether it's upgrading like the Keldon Johnson spot, although he's been pretty good this year, or if you could upgrade the Devin Vassell spot or Harrison Barnes. Like if you could find like a 3-4 hybrid, that is. I mean, everybody in the league is looking for like a good 3-4 hybrid, but if you can find that would be interesting. But they might just kind of play this year out and kind of see what they have after the year, because getting Castle and Harper has kind of been like unexpected for them. And then obviously De'Aaron Fox, that trade was kind of like their last year version of an all-in move, but they still got plenty of ammo to upgrade. So I'm eager to see what they do.
That feels like it's their kind of default stance anyways on stuff, is to kind of wait it out.
They're not an overly aggressive franchise.
So in a year where they're already ahead of schedule pretty clearly by a year or two, I would not expect anything super drastic from them.
Yeah, they're still going to be a fun team to watch the rest of the year. I think they're firmly in the top 6 of the West, and a team that maybe the Nuggets will end up seeing in the postseason, which would be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens there. All right, Troy, appreciate you hopping on today for a nice discussion here about the Nuggets heading into Christmas break. Hope you have a happy and safe holiday here.
You as well, man. Always fun.
All right, that'll do it for today's episode of Basketball in the Mountains. Thanks again to Troy Finnegan from Clutch Points for coming on today's episode. And thanks to all of you for watching or listening wherever you do. Make sure to subscribe, whether it's on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating, leave a comment on the episode, which you can do on Spotify now, which is a cool feature. That all that stuff helps me to grow the show and super appreciated. Or if you prefer to watch on my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel there. Leave a like in the comment. Leave a comment, all that kind of stuff helps with the engagement. So super appreciate that. Like I said, won't have any more episodes this week because of the holiday. So hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever you prefer to celebrate. So hope everybody has a nice holiday season here. We'll be back next week, probably talking NBA early in the week and then college later in the week ahead of the Big 12 season getting underway. So lots to come here in the new year on the feed, and hope everybody is looking forward to it like myself. So thanks everybody again for listening, and enjoy the week of basketball.